Good afternoon, Chaos. This is Akelatos, your friendly Legion's leader here. After a much aligned absence, I'm here with some more roster reviews. This time we're going to start with very long-standing Chaos member, Heartstreet. Some of you may not realize this, but Heartstreet has been with Chaos for probably close to a year now. For a while served as a leader in Legions, but due to some unforeseen circumstances or stuff couldn't get around, asked to step down just because he didn't have the time to devote to that leadership capacity. But Heartstreet is still a phenomenal member here in Chaos, an anchor in Legions, and really I'm very excited to do this review for Heartstreet just because he has given the guild such time and commitment and really is always there to help us out. And even if leaders aren't around, he helps with strategy, calling people out, letting them know what's up. So Heartstreet, thank you for all that you do here in Chaos. We do appreciate your help and appreciate all that you offer. Now, this will probably be one of the first reviews I've done since Territory War came out. And I also believe one of the first ones I've done since Dark Side Territory Battles came out. So Heartstreet has asked if I could kind of give him some help with his arena squad and territory battles and possibly some tank teams. So I'm just going to give it a shot. Maybe some compositions, some mods, suggestions, anything I think could help out our dear friend here. So I'm going to start with arena. You know, we see Heartstreet is running a Commander Luke Skywalker lead with Ahsoka Tano, Chirrut, Ezra Bridger, and General Kenobi. Now, each one of these tunes is very strong on their own, and we have some decent Rebel synergy under Commander Luke Skywalker. So it is interesting to see that Heartstreet says he struggles sometimes in arena, and I see the arena rank 97, and I kind of wonder what is that about. So the first thing that I think most people would recommend Heartstreet is if you have the chance. Commander Luke Skywalker, you have a lot of health mods on him, so you probably want to get crit chance and crit damage mods with high offense and speed secondaries. I'm not sure what a lot of the secondaries are, but a decent amount of health, some protection, a little bit of potency and tenacity, a decent amount of damage and some crit chance. So yeah, you definitely want to boost those up more. Let's see what's on the cross here. Offense, yeah, it's not too bad. It got the right stuff going on as the primary stats, but if you were able to get those as crit damage and crit chance, would be even better. Same thing with Ahsoka Tano Fulcrum. Focus more on the crit damage and crit chance mods instead of the health, if you can. I know Cantina Energy is really hard to come by, and then she probably could use a little more speed. Like on my own, I'm not entirely sure where her speed comes on most of the time. I know when she uses Meditate, she generally gains turn meter, but aside from that, you still want her to go fairly quickly. Ezra Bridger, definitely want one crit chance, one crit damage set, with lots of offense there. General Kenobi, I have personally gotten the most mileage out of health and tenacity sets with protection, defense, and speed secondaries. So really any offensive stats I would try to avoid on him, like crit damage. This would be a really good mod for maybe Luke Skywalker. Instead, finds protection or health or defense for that slot. Now, protection is not bad. If you had a tenacity cross, that'd be even better for General Kenobi. And lastly, you have Chirrut, who I believe you want to get him as fast and as high health as possible. Well, My bad, not health as much as just kind of speed and some offense, crit damage, crit chance, just because he really is labeled as an attacker and he has a lot of really strong attacks. So those are your top 5. Now, if playing mod roulette is not your cup of tea, then I have one of 2 possible suggestions. Now it's going to be really weird to hear me say this, but I think the best tank for that group is not General Kenobi, but instead either Old Ben or Baze Malbus. Now I say Old Ben because he's going to get a lot more of the synergy from the Luke Skywalker leader ability. So he will have much higher defense. So with the Raid Hans and other guys that are just hitting so darn hard, you can't top Old Ben's defense under Commander Luke Skywalker lead unless you're using a Sith Trooper or a Stormtrooper in a full Empire team. So if you want to gear out Old Ben and throw him in for General Kenobi, that would probably be the very best tank in that group. Baze Malbus, obviously with his synergies with Chirrut, is a good choice. But if you throw in Old Ben, I would recommend almost even dropping Chirrut and bringing in Captain Han Solo. But that's kind of getting away from the essence of your team. Though ultimately, I think to really compete the top spots, you're going to want to drop Ahsoka Tano or Ezra Bridger to bring in maybe an R2-D2. Just to give that support, because your group has really few support characters, and R2-D2 does a ton of support between his stuns, his crowd control, his dots, his cleanses, and a lot of the buffs. So Ahsoka Tano and Ezra are great attackers. They're hard to be beat. They can't play off of each other very well. And the group that you have has very few buffs. So Fulcrum Ahsoka Tano is probably going to be the first one I would want to take out, just because she works better in a group that has a lot of buffs. So if you could fit in like a Princess Leia instead of Ezra Bridger, Ahsoka would be much better because she can get up to 5 buffs from Leia. But that's kind of, again, moving out of what you've got. So for an offensive team, to kind of boost your offense, we're going to go with Commander Luke Skywalker, Baze Malbus, Ezra Bridger, Chirrut, and I would say either, like I said, Raid Han, even if you want to gear him up, or Princess Leia. Or you can do Commander Luke Skywalker, Old Ben, Captain Han Solo, and then some combination of Ahsoka Tano, Raid Han, Ezra, Princess Leia, or Ezra Bridger. Something there. Or you can drop one of the DPS and bring in R2-D2 because he's going to buff everybody. As far as a really good defensive core that you want, if you want to hold your position, the last battle every day, I would throw in a Commander Luke Skywalker lead, gear up Raid Han, Chirrut, and Baze, and Old Ben. Because Baze Malbus and Old Ben, they are an incredible wall to hide behind. And if anybody tries to use AoEs to get behind them, Raid Han and Commander Luke Skywalker are just going to tear them apart. So if you could finish gearing out your Raid Han, one last piece of gear on Baze Malbus, and a few more pieces on Old Ben, you would have a pretty intimidating defensive team. Or if you don't want to use Raid Han, Ahsoka Tano Fulcrum would actually work really well in that group behind Commander Luke Skywalker, Chirrut, Baze, and Old Ben. So she works really good there. So that's a couple ideas to kind of fiddle with your arena team. If you do happen to bring in Old Ben, personally, I'd stack him with defensive mods, defense and tenacity. I would gear him just like my Sith Trooper. And Baze, any kind of defensive stats. He doesn't need speed, doesn't need offense. He just needs to be pumped up with health, protection, defense, and tenacity. That's his MO there. So that's, like I said, my recommendations for your arena. Now, territory battle, I think you're set. Honestly, looking through your roster, you know, the first thing I looked at was your Phoenix, which maybe could use a little more gear. And if I were to gear any one of them anymore, I would say maybe Sabine or Canajaris. But they seem to be good and could go most of the way through territory battle and get you all the stuff you needed. Looking also at your rebels. For your Phoenix, that's not Phoenix, I'm sorry, Rogue One squad, you've got Jin Urso, super high gear, Chirrut Imwe, very high gear, Baze Malbus, very high gear. I would just maybe go for one more piece of gear on K2SO and Cassian Andor and call it a day. They'll be done. They will be able to go 6 for 6 of any waves, which I'm sure you're probably already getting at right now. For a rebel group that you could use for a lot of missions that require the rebels, you can lead it with Commander Luke Skywalker. Again, I would maybe use Commander Han Solo in that group, whichever one of the Hoth brothers you need. And then you have Old Ben, Ahsoka Tano, Fulcrum, and Raid Han. So I'm sure the rebel missions in your territory battles are no problem. And you can probably even make a second group out of them to finish the last of the territory battles. If you are struggling for a fifth group to use, I'm assuming you use your Jedi with a Qui-Gon Jinn lead. Ayla Sakura, Ezra Bridger if he hasn't been used, General Kenobi, and Jedi Knight Anakin. And if you use your Ezra Bridger, I throw in either Yoda or Ahsoka Tano. My personal preference is Ahsoka Tano, but you could probably do just fine with Grandmaster Yoda. So I'm sure your light side territory battles are a breeze. But looking at your dark side, it looks like you've been doing so well on the light side. Like a lot of people, I'm sure, you kind of neglected some of the key dark side characters. So the 4 characters I think you would get the best, or the most mileage gearing up now, if you can, like just pop them in your favorites and throw gear when it comes available, is General Veers, Grand Admiral Thrawn, Snowtrooper, and Stormtrooper. Okay, with those 4 tunes, you will be able to get 2 really solid 4/4 every phase dark side territory battles. And those 2 groups would be a Darth Vader lead, who I see you have zated. In his group, you will have a tank with Royal Guard. You'll have support with Grand Moff Tarkin and Grand Admiral Thrawn. And then your Emperor Palpatine will be your high damage dealer there. In the long run, you maybe want to get TIE Fighter Pilot to throw in there, but I saw that yours is only 3 stars. So Vader, Royal Guard, Emperor Palpatine, Grand Admiral Thrawn, Grand Moff Tarkin. That's your first Empire group. Your second Empire group, which will be the same group you used to do the Imperial Probe Droid mission and a few other stuff, will be a General Veers lead. And personally, I'd recommend him to be your next Zeta, but I'd get him geared up the best you can, as quickly as you can. Shore Trooper, Snow Trooper, Magma Trooper, and Stormtrooper. Now, I know that those guys, we look at your Imperial Troopers, they're all about gear 7, so it'll take a little while, but you gotta have troopers for dark side territory battle. There's no way around it. So get those leveled up and geared up. Throw a Zeta on General Veers, and that will be your second strong dark side territory battle group. Now, unfortunately, if we look at just the raw power in your dark side, it falls off super quick after First Order TIE Pilot. So, seeing the First Order TIE Pilot there, and seeing that you have a Zeta on Kylo Ren, I'd recommend the third group that you've got going to be a First Order group, led by Kylo Ren Unmasked. It looks like you're hitting his farm pretty hard. And under Kylo Ren Unmasked, you have the original Kylo Ren. Throw in the First Order TIE Pilot you already have, the Captain Phasma you already have, and As long as he's closer first order stormtrooper over the first order officer, because I think the stormtrooper is a little bit stronger in that group. They're going to be super tanky, being able to survive the territory battle and all that jazz. If you don't want to do the first order, you can throw together a Sith group, but they're going to need more Zetas, because really you have to have a Darth Maul or a Darth Nihilus Zeta to run Sith in territory battle, and realistically you need to have Sith Trooper. I'm sure some people do a Sith group without him, but they struggle, and since your Sith aren't like super high geared, you would have to have a tank, and none of the other characters can tank near as well as Sith Trooper. I mean, my personal opinion, he's my most favorite tank in the game, but under a Darth Maul, all your other guys would be just so squishy, because you'd have Darth Maul, Count Dooku, and Darth Sidious. And yeah, Dooku counters and all his fun stuff, but he will die super fast in territory battle, as will Darth Sidious. So you really need to gear up Sith Trooper if you want to run the Sith. So that will be why I would recommend not to do that and focus on First Order instead. And then in 4 months from now, when all that's done, then you can maybe start working on your bounty hunters. And again, don't feel bad. I'm sure most people neglected their bounty hunters. Now, when you do work on the dark side, you might be wondering, well, how do I gear them? Or how do I mod them? So with Empire, Darth Vader, you want probably potency. He needs to have potency because you want all of his dots to land. So potency, and probably want to speed him up as much as you can, because Sith are super slow, and I'm sure he's sitting around like, what, 110, 120? Oh, 150, so not too bad, but you still would like him to be faster. Grand Admiral Thrawn, you really could mod him a number of different ways. Personally, I just as much speed as I can give him, but anything is really good for him, except probably tenacity. He has a ton of native tenacity, especially when you Zeta his ebb and flow. He has plus 100% tenacity, so really that's one thing you don't need. Anything else he could use just fine. Emperor Palpatine, again, here you want some potency, and then some crit damage on his triangle, speed on the arrow, yeah, and potency to make sure his shock sticks. Royal Guard, health, because he's an unyielding defender. He'll recover health every turn that someone in your team takes damage, so you want that health so he's regenerating as much as possible. And Grand Moff Tarkin, I believe you want potency or crit damage. I'm not sure, I have to double check. But one of his uniques, his defense equal to potency, but there's something else, I forget the way it works. Maybe his ultimate firepower deals, yeah, equal damage, extra damage, double his potency percentage. So yeah, you probably want to get as much potency as possible on Tarkin. And potency is a fairly easy mod to get to, so you're going to want them for a lot of your dark side guys. For your troopers, Veers, speed and crit damage, or a crit damage, crit chance set. Shore Trooper, throw as much health as you can on him. Health, so his regroup heals his teammates as much as possible. Snow Trooper, crit damage, crit chance. There is no other mod that makes sense on him. Make sure you have crit damage set, crit chance set, as high offense secondaries as you can get. Don't even worry so much about speed, because he is super slow, but his assault training gives him so much turn meter. And then under a General Veers lead, he gets a ton of turn meter as well. So don't even worry about throwing speed on Snow Trooper. Magma Trooper, gear however you want. He's really going to be a place filler until you can get Stark ready to go. Stormtrooper, You probably want defense. Because his Wall of Stormtrooper is unique, he gains plus 30% defense for each living ally. So the higher his defense is, the more defense he gains for each ally, and he will have a stupid amount of survivability. So yeah, that's where I would go in the direction of the dark side territory battle. And a lot of these groups you could fit together for a territory war on top of that. So let's recap real quick. Arena. If you want to stick with Rebels, that's fine, but I'd recommend maybe throwing in a Baze Malbus or an old Ben in place of your current General Kenobi. So offense, run Commander Luke Skywalker, Baze and Chirrut, Raid and Ezra, or if you don't want Baze and Chirrut, use old Ben instead of Baze. It's fine. For defense, your best defensive set is going to be Commander Luke Skywalker, and maybe Ahsoka Tano Fulcrum, Chirrut, Baze, and either Old Ben or General Kenobi. Territory battles, light side, you're set. Dark side, just find your top 8 or 10 Empire and gear them. Really, that's just it. Any 7-star Empire character, gear them. You will use them in dark side territory battle. So hopefully that's able to help out a little bit. And again, big shout out and thank you to Heartstreet for all that he has done for our group, for our family here at Chaos, and wish you plenty of luck in your continued farming and gearing, and keep tearing up that arena, doing the best you can. So until next time, this is Ekelitos saying peace out, Chaos, good night, Legions, and good luck, Heartstreet.